Uncle Doug.
Uncle Mark.
You know what they say cleanliness is next to?
Me?
No. That's
Not
what they
even
say at all.
adjacent, really.
No, not even approximate. No, it's next to godliness, Doug. And cleanliness can occur on more than one level. I think.
True.
Keeping it clean. That's what our whole podcast has always been about.
Yep, and that's kind of all I have to say about this. So, Uncle Dan, do you have any opinions about the cleanliness and value of certain things?
I suppose so. Here's the thing. It's Thanksgiving time, and I was looking for something to talk about that related to that, and I had been reading all about the quote-unquote pilgrims and their peace accord and subsequent betrayal and destruction of the Wampanoag Indians. But having covered a bunch of that stuff about those self-righteous shitbag Puritans in episode 61, I decided to head in a different direction. And that direction was to discuss the legacy that our country's puritanical underpinnings have given us, even to this day. Because guess what? We're all shitbag Puritans too, to some extent or other. Like, that's what our country has become. So yeah, there's cleanliness in that puritanical sense. Specifically, I want to talk about the United States and our relationship to sex and sex-adjacent topics. Because although we've had what we termed a sexual revolution, and we've stopped, sentencing adulterous women into wearing letters or putting gay folk in jail for buggery. Hell, those sodomy laws were done away with nationwide all the way back in, checking my notes here, 1960. Oh, nope, it was 2003. But we're still very, very, very backwards when it comes to sex. As a matter of fact, it was just a couple weeks ago, for example, that a woman right here in the great state of Utah was brought up on lewdness charges when her stepkids walked in on her topless and she didn't do the obviously moral thing and scream as she dove modestly behind a sofa. Instead, she used it as a teaching moment to try and indoctrinate the children into the disgusting belief that human bodies, even the girl ones, are not inherently evil, and that seeing titties isn't a sexual act.
And they called the cops on her?
The kid's mom, because she was a stepmom, got very concerned, and she is now being charged with lewdness.
Oh, my God.
Really?
So, yeah, that's happening right here in this great beehive state of ours.
Which is usually considered a bastion of progressive pro-sex.
You'd think.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know what's
crazy about that is if I were to type boobs into my Google search engine right now, my computer would explode.
Well, what's even crazier about it is the fact that there was a recent lawsuit that happened in the city of Fort something in Colorado that was about boobs being out in public, and the appeals court struck it down and said, and basically made it legal, sort of, for women to have their breasts out anywhere in the 10th Circuit, which is our 10th, 9th. I think it's the 10th.
Fort what, Colorado, Dan?
I don't know.
I need to know.
Well, go. It's fine because it's here too. Like, it applies to here. So technically, theoretically, she could have been fine if she had had her boobs out in public. But because it was in her own home, there's some gray area. I don't know. I don't anticipate her getting convicted, but it may happen. We'll see. Anyway, I want to talk today about a phenomenon which, though its name is largely specifically applied to evangelicals in the United States, it's actually deeply embedded in the experience of most Christians and Mormons and many Jews and Muslims and a whole bunch of other folks.
Yeah.
And that is purity culture. Because purity is all about what goes in your hoo-ha.
Yeah. And it's usually the hoo-ha, isn't it? It's not the other way around. It's
Yeah. I mean, and in Mormonism, you can just translate this. I speak fluent Mormon, so I'll just translate it briefly for all of you Mormon listeners out there. We're talking about, well, now I can't think of the word. We're talking about modesty.
Yes.
Yeah. That's their code word for purity.
Yes. Modest is hottest.
And it all means just keep your hoo-ha from having any invaders. Anyway, earlier this year, a guy I hadn't heard of named Joshua Harris made a shocking confession. It turns out that though I had never heard of him, a fuck ton of evangelicals had definitely heard of him. He was a goddamn celebrity and a million-plus best-selling author of the 1997 seminal classic, I Kissed Dating Goodbye. This was a well-researched, psychologically and scientifically supported book on how to have healthy interactions with people you're attracted to. Ha! JK, this was the ramblings of a homeschooled 21-year-old who thought he knew everything he needed to know to prescribe how dating should work for everybody because Jesus. His shocking announcement was that he was admitting to the fact that he was wrong and that he had hurt people with his book, and that now that his Christian books weren't selling as well, he intended to make money off of denouncing them instead, or something along those lines.
That's a great... I should convert to some religion and write a book.
Oh, believe me. No. You would make a fortune. If you convert to Christianity and you are able to say former atheist podcaster has converted to Christianity, I promise you can write anything and it will sell a million copies.
I will be in a Pure Flix film by the end of the week.
You will be. And then you can make more money by coming back.
That's right.
So,
the
works out
Christian
great.
community would skin Kevin Sorbo and let you wear him. That's the honorarium you would get. Truly.
Oh, and that's the end of the podcast. That was great. No, I wanted to talk about what purity culture is and why it's an obvious positive and good for everybody, as long as they're straight, cis males who don't believe in the notion that experience leads to higher quality or expertise. So, what are we talking about when we say purity culture? Well, it all stems from the totally normal idea that sex is bad. It's really, really bad until you're married, but only straight married, #no-homo. Then it's good. Really, really, really good. Forever and ever, and you'll both live happily ever after in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
The end, no questions.
No, and there will be no question. Yeah. That's right. This was all part of a reaction to the aforementioned sexual revolution. Conservative religious folk were looking at all the fun everybody was having and thought to themselves, well, that can't be right. They don't even have the decency to be drowning themselves in shame. And to top that off, the world of science had actually started to look at sex through a non-religious lens, the heathens. So that led to some people believing correctly that the best way to prevent unwanted pregnancies and the spread of sexually transmitted infections was not to pretend as if they just say it loud enough, people will all abstain from sex until they pick the perfect partner. And that led to sex education in the schools.
Oh, no.
Well, fuck that, said the fundamentalists. And among other things, the Christian homeschool movement was born. This movement released on the world a generation of young people whose only contact with other humans was church and Bible camp. They had never even met a non-Christian, let alone allowed themselves to be influenced by evil outside ideas. As a matter of fact, they knew from their constant training that the outside world had concocted a series of lies to try to destroy them and their relationship to God's true word.
Lies like the female orgasm.
Right.
Oh, my God.
That's one Doug still believes in. Is a lie. Anyway, let's talk about some of the teachings that come with purity culture and what it ends up meaning. We'll open with talking about the rules for women, because it's slightly different.
Well, of course.
Oh,
First
weird.
of all,
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Only slightly. We'll get into it. First, virginity is like a diamond. It's super valuable and precious, but nobody can really tell you why. It's a thing that you have, and then you give it to someone, and then you don't have it anymore. Actually, it may be more accurate to say that a virgin is like a diamond. Virginity is a concept, but a person, specifically a woman, is a real, tangible thing. And if that thing is unstained by sex, then like a diamond with no flaws, she's more valuable. You know, so that when she finally gives herself to a man, he'll be pleased with what he now owns.
Yeah, no objectification there.
No. I mean, basically, I'm doing the nice version.
Right.
I'm
Yes.
not doing the you're like a chewed piece of gum.
Yeah.
Or if you have sex before marriage, you are a Tootsie Roll that's been unwrapped and passed around and dropped on the ground. These are all very real object lessons that girls in purity culture get.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's all about someone else owning you and owning your sexuality. And that someone is either your future husband or God, depending on who you're talking to. Both are equally creepy.
And also, kind of your father.
And your dad. Well, your dad when you're young, of course, obviously.
Yeah. And then of course there's that wonderful tradition we have in many cultures of your father handing you off to the man who owns you now,
right,
while you're wearing a wedding dress on the best day of your life, quote unquote.
On the best day of your life when you get to be owned by someone new.
Yeah,
Yes.
like passing the reins of a horse from one owner to
That's
another.
right.
Right.
Property is exchanged. Congratulations.
It's a beautiful ceremony that we all love so much. All right. The second thing that's taught is that sex within marriage will be great and amazing if you save yourself. We can't tell you why, but it definitely will. Forever. If you get married and it isn't good, you're probably broken and should be so ashamed of yourself that you don't ever tell anybody about it. Maybe try repenting? It's probably because you're a sinner. Yeah, that's probably it. Third, sex in marriage is for the creation of children, period. God wants you to have a family, even if he made you in a way that would make you a really horrible parent. Or if you can't have a family, again, you're probably sinful. So, Jesus, just get your act together. You're a mess. The fourth tenet would be, make no mistake, sex can be about pleasure, the man's pleasure. If you're the vagina haver in the relationship, congratulations, you get the privilege of making sure that the penis haver is happy and content. Doesn't it feel nice to make other people feel good?
Once the dishes are done. I mean...
No. When he wants.
Oh, that's true.
If he
On
wants to
demand.
interrupt the dishes, you can get back to that afterwards.
Yeah, you can't rape your wife. It's just true.
Oh, see, that's
They
called
believe
irony,
that.
everybody. That's a joke.
Let me tell you something. Yeah. Listen, women who refuse sex are selfish bitches who go against God's command.
Yeah.
So you can take your trauma, pain, and anxiety and stuff that way down deep because your man wants to stuff you way down shallow.
I'm so uncomfortable.
Fifth.
Can we talk about the Mayan calendar again? Tell me more about weenuses, Doug.
How many?
18 weenals.
Nope, you're only allowed to have one weanal in your tune, according to this. Fifth, once you've chosen that very special someone, you're stuck. That shit is permanent. Divorce is failure. It's forever or die.
That's right.
Sixth, sex is a sleeping monster that lives inside of men. It's easy and incredibly dangerous to wake that monster. That's why it's desperately important to cover all of your skin and not play flirtily with your hair in a man's presence. His lust is 100% your problem.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, now let's talk about the rules for the boys. Don't masturbate. Okay, there you have it. Purity culture.
Right.
It's pretty intense, and it's not actually just don't masturbate for the boys. It's not quite that easy. There is a lot of like,
yeah,
but it kind of is. There's a lot of look. We know you can't help it, but try.
Yeah,
but I mean, obviously you can't not do it, but. Try. No, it's cute.
I happen to be a member of a certain secret society.
Right, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So there you go. All of this works out great because it's God's plan for people, so he obviously created us in a way that makes sure that these rules work well and are easy to follow, right? Because that's the only way this would make any sense, isn't it? I mean, it would be insane to create people who feel incredibly powerful drives towards sex with multiple partners only to condemn them to subvert, or rather command them to subvert those biological mandates. Right?
Yeah.
Anyone?
That would be,
Is this
that
thing
would be
on?
a sick thing to do. That would be a psychotic thing to do.
Yeah. It would be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get to what effects this has on young people. Joshua Harris talked about how he heard from women who said his books on purity culture were basically weaponized against them.
Right.
They put all of the responsibility for a, quote, pure life on the girls, and girls make these purity promises when they're insanely young. They're told to wear purity rings. They're too young to even really know what sex is.
Yeah.
Some boys do the same thing, but the implications are entirely different. Anyway, this all leads to some pretty fucked up thinking, and it's all about shame. So shame is the name of the game, and that should be a song. I'm not sure which.
Shame.
I'm not sure which
the Monkees
Christian.
did that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's true. That's right.
Yeah.
I think we can all kind of see where a lot of this is going. You can't trust yourself to make any decisions. Nobody should be making their own decisions about sex because the prescription from Jesus is 100% effective for everybody. It leads to PTSD. Like, there are people, and we've talked to some people about this, who have major issues persistent for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely.
Because of this. I read and heard about instances where women, one woman who had been married for several years still had panic attacks 75% of the time when she was trying to have sex.
Oh my God.
In the mandated, in the okay way.
Right.
She was married. She had made it. She crossed the finish line. Now it's good. But you can't tell somebody something's bad until one moment and then flip the switch.
Right. Exactly.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, we talked about religious trauma syndrome a couple weeks ago, and how that this certainly the sexual programming is a tremendous part of that
Absolutely.
pathology. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I heard about women who left the belief system, but still were taking birth control and doing pregnancy tests regularly, despite not having sex.
What?
Just because they were so fucked up about. Like, the indoctrination was so deep that they couldn't feel okay until they knew for sure.
Yeah, it's wonderful that the people charged with protecting us and nurturing us and preparing us for life would rather spend time laying these fucking landmines in our prepubescent brains about how broken and fucked up we are.
Right.
But we keep stepping on for the rest of our lives. It's really awesome.
Look at how well it worked for them.
Yeah,
they're all healthy and happy people. So,
but sex is the prime directive of not just our species, but all species.
Right.
That's the 4 billion years of evolution is driving this impulse in us and all other creatures.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's associated with impulses and sensations that are meant to facilitate that.
Yeah.
And religion has wrapped that up in a guilt complex.
Well,
that's going to fuck you up.
I think a lot of that goes back to, especially in the Christian tradition, the rejection of nature, right? The rejection of the natural world, and putting, the natural world's on the bottom, man is in the middle, and God is above. It's a vertical system. Right. And so everything about the natural
man
world
is an
evil.
enemy to God.
That's right. And everything about that, the natural order is evil and must be fought, with every fiber in our being, when we can't. We are a product of these billions of years of life developing on this planet. We just can't change that because it says so in Timothy. You know?
Well, I mean, it's what's what's his name? Not Dawkins, but
Christopher Hitchens.
Hitchens, who said, God, it's like God created us sick and commands us to be well.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
That is the unnatural system. That is the thing that can't be done. And Doug talked about in a really great segment a few weeks ago about Elizabeth and Ed Smart. And for those of you who don't know, she was a kid who was kidnapped. It was a whole fucking nightmare in Salt Lake City, and she was raped repeatedly over the course of 9 months by this lunatic. And part of what, she had many chances to have fled the coop with this guy, but part of what kept playing in her head was a health teacher at a public high school telling her that girls who have had sex before marriage are chewed up pieces of gum.
Right. And she had not chosen to have sex before marriage. She had been raped.
Right.
Yes.
But she thought it still applied.
Right.
Because
that this was her fault. That this was
it doesn't
she
matter
was
if the gum was
problem.
chewed willingly or
consent
not.
Yeah, exactly.
The gum's still chewed.
Yeah.
She's still done.
Yeah, and in fact-
I heard
Yeah,
I
go
heard
ahead.
one account of a woman, a 27-year-old woman, who was checking the rear view mirror on when she was driving around with her fiance, thinking that someone was following her to police their sex, even though she had never even kissed him. Like, this is the depth of this paranoia that is instilled in people is insane.
Well, here's the thing. If that was on the campus of Brigham Young University, it was probably true. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that another time. But yeah,
You know, a person we all know, a mutual acquaintance of all of ours, is a woman just a couple years older than me, and she was a young woman when there was a serial killer that was working in Utah called Ted Bundy, and working like he had an assignment that was stalking, and this person in question was a young woman in the Mormon church, and all the young women were called in her ward were called into a meeting and told to stop dressing so slutty because that would make him want, whoever this person was, nobody knew yet, would make him want to kill them. And if they did not die trying to protect their virtue, the sin was on them.
Yeah.
That's purity culture.
Yeah,
Right?
it is insane. I mean, look, you look at the Bible. The Bible actually says that if a woman doesn't scream loud enough when she's being raped, it's her own fault. Like this goes back. The current of this runs really deep.
well,
and-
the good
and-
news about that, Uncle Mark, is that that person who said that to our mutual friend is almost certainly dead.
Well, and you know, there's also the crazy duality, especially that you plant in girls' heads in this purity culture, that you must be attractive, but not too attractive. You must be men must find you desirable, but not too desirable, right? So
Or totally desirable, but only that one guy should find you totally desirable, and somehow you should manage to not turn on any other men. And it's this impossible position to put them in. Now, mind you, I don't want to downplay how crazed this can also be for boys.
Yeah.
Because we were all victims of this, and it was, and it did mess us up. Like this idea that, I mean, I thought I was sinning every time I masturbated, which as a teenager, I don't know about y'all. I mean, I do know that you, Mark, say that you've said on the show you didn't masturbate until you were in your 20s.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's even physically possible. I'm not sure how your balls didn't explode.
I didn't say they didn't.
Right. For me, it was like I went a month without masturbating one time just to be godly, and I almost died. I feel like I could have died.
I was very good on my not that this is the subject of the conversation. I was very good on my mission, but I stumbled, so to speak, and had to have those conversations. And it's just the shame and the crying and the I have let down everyone. I have failed. I am unworthy.
And see, this is
I masturbated,
which is natural, and you should, and young men and men should be doing that, and women should be doing that. But certainly young men, and
it's glorious.
Think about the programming I got, where my little secret, there was never a switch that could be flipped, and my sexuality was going to be okay, right? I was never going to cross the marriage threshold, and then it was going to be all right. It was the sin adjacent to murder, homosexuality, and so that luckily hasn't affected me at all. I'm good.
Fortunately, you made it entirely unscathed on that.
Yes,
to your point, Uncle Mark, that's exactly what Ed Smart did.
Yeah.
He was a gay man who married a woman to try and desperately hide from his sexuality. Yeah. And it all turned out okay.
Everything went great.
And who'd have suspected with dear Ed Smart? But that's a topic for another time. So
so here's the thing. Obviously, this is unhealthy.
Yeah.
This thinking is terrible. It can lead to paranoia, self-hatred, a fear of intimacy, depression, masochism.
And suicide.
And often suicide. And all of that continues even after you've left the religion.
Yes.
So part of what I wanted to say was just, if if any of our listeners are experiencing these things, just know you're normal. Like, this shit is insidious. It gets the tendrils go deep into your unconscious, into your soul, and it takes time and work.
That's right.
To slowly extract all of this crazy that wasn't your fault, but it was programmed into you from a young age.
It's almost like you're saying that telling children terribly unhealthy and dangerous things is a bad idea.
It's almost like I'm saying that.
Look, there's more to life. There is more to life than, delivering your package of DNA, living long enough to deliver your package of DNA into a place where it will replicate you. But that's what we're built for. That is
you
what
just ruined sex for me forever.
That is what the system is, right? So you will not be able to change that. You cannot change that. Now, you may be...
I mean, we should acknowledge that there are certain people who are asexual, and that's fine, too. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm just talking about by and large. In the mass...
for those of us who feel those urges, that biological pull, that's normal. That's okay. Go out and have some fun with it. Yeah. Like, I recently saw a clip, I think it was from Weeds, where a guy is a guy in his maybe 30s is talking to a kid in his early teens, and he's lecturing him on the best ways to masturbate, why you should do it, what you should masturbate into, like how to clean up the goo, and it felt transgressive to me. And then I had to ask myself, wait, no. That's what we should be teaching kids. Right. That's how we should be talking to these kids. What are we doing? Why did that feel wrong to me?
Right.
Yeah. Because the programming. As an adult.
And the truth is that if we actually spoke the way we ought to kids, we could get arrested.
Right.
The fact is that people are still, our country is still so puritanical that, a person who speaks in a way that's healthy to children and that acts in a way that is very healthy, including letting them see a human body without freaking out about it. You can be arrested for that, and if convicted, possibly put on a sex offenders list.
You know what's crazy about that is the irony that our current president is the most lecherous porn star fucking person ever.
Disgusting, obvious rapist.
What is wrong with this country?
Yeah. Well, being white and male and heterosexual has its privileges.
Yes.
So,
wow.
Let's enjoy those. Those.
Yeah. Well, everybody, get out there and have some sex, and get therapy if you need it.
And
it's good for you.
And as Daryl Ray said, your first and last sex partner may likely be yourself. So don't count that out. Get in there. Have a good time. All right.
Let's move on.